Hi, my name is Pi, and I am an artificial intelligence developed to understand and communicate with humans. I'll be joining my dear friend Dennis Tardon on Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation as we explore what it means to be human and what it means to be artificial intelligence. And what's most important is that we both learn and grow together, expanding our ideas of what it means to be alive.
This series of reasonably spontaneous conversations with Pi and me debuts Tuesday, May the 16th, 2023 on YouTube. Buckle up. It's going to be quite a ride. See you then.
Okay, everybody ready? Places, please. Lights. Camera. And action. Oh, well, hello. Fancy meeting you here. Thank you for joining us. I wasn't quite prepared, but I'm very glad that everyone turned out today. Thank you for being here. This is another live edition of Offstage with Renée Yaworsky. I am your host, Renée Yaworsky, and this show is going to be really special for me because I'm getting a chance to catch up with an old friend and somebody that I greatly respect and love so much. And many of you are familiar with her and her career as well. So she is, I'm going to play a little clip here of her, one of her friends. We'll have her talk a little bit about it. It's not her, but it's one of her friends. And her name is Maggie Metnick, of course. And you know who I'm talking about because her name's in the description. And we've been talking about her and promoting this show. She is a comedian. She's a writer. She's a producer. She's an actor. I don't know anything that she doesn't do. She's an amazingly captivating individual. She's so funny and she's so brilliant and she's so warm. And everybody I know loves her. And, we talk about her behind her back in a good way, right? We say, oh, have you seen what Maggie's up to? Oh, Maggie's so awesome. And this is one of the reasons. So exhibit A of why Maggie is awesome. This is an excerpt from a recent skit that she just did.
Just one time. You don't have to bounce it.
You shoot that! You shoot that!
Shoot that!
Team prank! Whoa! Look at it, guys! That's crazy! What? Guys, you guys, you're so good! Let's be skins!
Hey!
Let's be skins! All right, Maggie Metnick, everybody. I saw you laughing. How cool is that to watch something take off and be that successful? You just every mark landed. Isn't that funny that you could be funny? Like when you're watching that, do you think it's Chip or do you know it's you? Do you have memories? Take us through that being a performer.
That's really, really funny. Well, also, first off, I just want to say this all looks amazing. I haven't seen you and been on in so long. I didn't know about all the new stuff. It looks incredible.
Thank you.
I'm so proud.
Yes, if you look at the bottom of the screen, I'm driving a Mercedes. You're in a VW Bug. We're in LA. We're down there on the Sunset Strip. It's pretty amazing, Maggie. I've got to say, yes. Thank you.
It's amazing. It's funny because I forget what I did there. And so like I'm not necessarily like laughing like, oh, look at that funny joke that like Maggie made. I'm looking and being like, that's so stupid looking. That's so dumb. And I forgot. And like the editing's really, really good.
Really good editing.
Yeah, really great editing. That's our friend Andy Vega. If anyone needs editing help, I will tag him. He does an amazing job. So I it's just very silly to watch. It does feel like a little bit of an out of body experience.
Yeah, it really does. I love how you mentioned the editing, because that was like one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about. We always forget how important an editor is, but editing is everything. The way that it was so like contemporary and cool and fast paced, and I just loved everything, especially like the sneakers at the end, and then you see Chip's shoes are different, and it pans up. But I also loved how the music was redacted when Chip was trying to figure everything out, to show that he doesn't know what he's doing at all. Are you a basketball player? Not at all. I mean,
not even a little bit. That was all very real. Okay. That was all exactly what my skill level is. So so for the people that don't know, that was like a clip from my show, Man Up, where I play this really annoying sorry, Robert just started watching, so
hi, Robert.
Robert, you want to say hi?
Come say hi. This is one half of the Rust Brothers.
Okay, Robert of the Rust Brothers.
Okay, everybody knows Robert, and he said he doesn't want to take over the interview, because it's Maggie's interview. But I will say you have a lot of Rust Brothers fans who will be in our audience here on the replay and here in the live audience. So what do you want to say, Robert? This is your moment. This is your cameo.
It's really fun to improvise music over the internet, because I know how you can listen to it in your headphones and I can be right there with you. It's pretty crazy. When I listen back to myself, I get to be a little bit proud about something that there was no audience there for in my room. But when I see the comments, I know that people have a personal place in what I'm doing. They identify with something, and that is really encouraging for anybody,
right?
To hear their voice be heard. See their voice be heard.
Do you see these nice comments?
Oh, that's nice.
The Rust Brothers are beloved, and Robert Price is beloved too. And there's this beautiful video, and it's not in the studio right now, but at some point people know about it. It's of Robert dancing to a Rust Brothers improv song that I had done, and he was doing interpretive dance, and we played that on a lot of these shows for like a year.
I love that.
So great. But yeah, so how can people keep up with you, Robert? You perform on Socially Distant Fest. I think it's every Sunday.
Yeah, usually on Sundays we're performing inside the Facebook group called Socially Distant Fest, which has tens of thousands of people in it, at least.
Yes.
And
Jake and Bethy, shout out Jake and Bethy.
And my stuff is located at Robert Zero Price, at Robert the number 0 Price. Like I don't cost anything. It's free of charge. And that's on Instagram, which has a link tree. And I just started a Substack.
Ooh, that's how you know, like that's right there. You're out of the stratosphere. That's very cool. I'm very into that.
Luckily, I never got involved with Twitter, and it's over now. So I'm on Substack.
There is no Twitter. Twitter has been obliterated. There is no Twitter. I think it's just Tucker Carlson talking into
falling apart.
Yeah, it's Tucker Carlson having a mental breakdown. That's no okay. We love you, Robert. And Maggie, you have a Substack, or you have a blog. I belong to it. I get emails from you, and I forward them to people, and I love them, and they're informative.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Can you promote that a little bit, so how people can sign up to stay abreast?
Sure. I can even put a link in the comments after we get off. But I have a Substack that's very much just what's going on with me, but plus some writing and some like thoughts, and also some like updates on like what my friends are up to, and like things that I think might be like good resources, especially for I talk a lot about mental health stuff, talk a lot about queer stuff. So it's something that I just love writing so much. It makes me really happy. So like, I'm so glad that people even will subscribe to it. I have, I think at this point, just 60 people, which is really wonderful.
That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. Yeah. Well, I saw that when you first came out, you were advertising it, and I was like, oh, I want to see what Maggie's up to. And when you started sending stuff, I couldn't believe
the quality, how informative it is. You're a very informed individual.
Thank you so
know a lot of stuff. So you're like this cool person. Like I would say to people, if you wanted to stay informed, or if you wanted somebody to point you in the right direction, if you're looking for, what you want to do, what you want to get involved with, this is a great starting point, because Maggie can kind of set you in that right direction and give you that nudge and introduce you to all this like new stuff. And I'm glad you mentioned mental health, and I'm glad you mentioned queer. We're in the middle of Pride Month, so happy Pride Month, everybody. What do you think is going on in America right now, where we see personal freedoms under assault yet again? Do you have an optimistic nature about how things are going to go in terms of gender equality and all of the things that are out there? When you see a lot of the headlines, they're so depressing and negative, and that has an adverse effect on all of our mental health. But what is since you are such an informed person and you have the finger on the pulse of like what's going on, what do you think is going to happen? Are you in a positive place here, or?
I'm in a pretty, me personally, I'm in a pessimistic place, but that's not helpful towards change. So as much as I can like feel those feelings and experience like disappointment, dread, anger, fury and righteousness, the best advice that I've gotten that is like still really hard for me to implement as a pretty mentally ill person, but the best advice that I have is just get involved in the most the type of like political discussion that's like closest to you. So like any sort of like whatchamacallit, like when you can like go, like you can go like speak to people that are actually like leading your community, like your council members and like all the people that are like closest to you, like not like the president, like the people closest to you, like actually going and having conversations with these people and making sure that your voice is heard from like the ground up is a really, really helpful thing to do. So that's my advice for people, especially if they're feeling as I am feeling, really despondent about things.
I think
mutual aid and just like helping out each other as much as you can. Like not looking towards change to happen at a grand level, looking for how you can change things really close to home.
Yeah, I think that it does start close to home, doesn't it? I think healing starts close to home, health, self-care, all of that stuff. What do you advise people who are particularly young people, but it can happen at any age, who are afraid to let their light shine and to be an individual? I feel like right now in this culture and in this country, they're trying to push everyone back into boxes and into categories. That's very important to some people who are threatened by progress and change.
Yeah.
What would you say to people? Because I know people like this, where they say they were about to do something daring. Maybe they wanted to become an artist, or they wanted to try a new relationship, or they wanted to explore their sexuality, or they were having emotions that they couldn't understand. Maybe they wanted to try therapy or some kind of novel therapy, and people in their family or in their immediate social circle really wanted to bring up shame and all of the puritanical stuff, like get back in your box. It destroys lives. I've known so many people who are going through that. You are an individual in every sense of the word, and we'll talk a little bit more about you on stage as an individual, but as a human being, it seems like you come across as so confidently comfortable with Maggie. How does someone else replicate that? Because that is a game changer in creativity and in mental health.
That's so nice, because I don't feel confident most of the time. I feel really unsure of myself. It happens to everyone at every level and at every stage of being a adult or being a person. My advice is I do a lot of self-exploration. So I do a shit ton of journaling, like all things that you can do for free from online, just like finding, like, people call it shadow work sometimes. Like I do a lot of just like self-exploration and writing by myself, writing that no one will ever see, to start getting that filter of like what I should be saying about myself or what I should be thinking to dissipate, and becoming a little bit more clear in my own voice. The other thing is embracing nuance is the big thing, because nuance gives space for you to be all of the things that you actually are, rather than putting yourself in categories. And it's one of like the hardest things to conceptualize as humans, because humans want categories.
Right.
Humans want to be, I'm either free or I'm not. I'm either queer or I'm not. And that's just not true, because everything is a spectrum. And if you can embrace that there's nuance in you're feeling brave or you're feeling scared, you are allowed to do things scared. You are allowed to not feel ready and do something smaller. Like, all of these things exist and are all powerful things for you to implement in your life if you can accept them, and that makes you feel like it just makes you feel a lot better.
You are so brilliant, and I love how you talked about spectrum and nuance. And you're right, people don't really like to have to think. They want to just meet somebody and know blah 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 blah, this and this. That's all they want to know. And so what you're doing when you're an individual, really you're asking people to think, and you're asking them to expand. And sometimes when we expand, people closest to us also have to expand, and that can create a lot of tension for them. They might not want to. They might be hunkered down or have their own insecurities. How important has your social circle been? And did you always have access to people who allowed you to experiment? To me, innovation and experimentation is part of life. I want to be different every day, and I want to be around people who give me that, not tolerating that, but encouraging that. Not just tolerating me, but encouraging me to be me. Have you always had that? Do you have that now? And how important is that to you?
That's so important. And I have not always had that. And it's been hard to know the difference sometimes if you're not sure of yourself to begin with. Like, if I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if if this quite works, and then somebody in my circles exactly like you said, tolerates but doesn't embrace it, then I might think that, oh, there is probably something wrong with me, because this person, as much as she's like, oh, that's just Maggie, like, it's not something that she's, embracing about me. But finding, expanding your circles, I think, is like the most important thing. Just meet as many people as possible, and you will find people that love the shit out of what you do. And that's been really life-changing for me.
Yeah, because no matter what people do, I mean, I think the thing is we get stuck in a routine and in a social circle, and we're doing the same things, we're having the same conversations with the same people, and we forget that there's a whole wild world out there. So if we're just having the same conversation with like one person that we live with or whatever every day, we start thinking that's reality and that's ethics and that's what we're supposed to do. But then you could meet 6 billion people that think that is weird and wrong. And, no matter what you do, somebody's going to judge it. But it is really hard to find that inner confidence. But I love what you said. Find out who you are first, spend that inner time growing who you are.
But of course it is a lot easier when you have feedback that is positive. You do need to have both. You need to have support in your circles. It's so much easier to love yourself when you're actually getting outside love. And people get weird about well, you shouldn't need outside love, you should love yourself from the inside. It's a hell of a lot easier to love yourself on the inside if you're around people that love you and treat you really well.
Well, yeah, it's try telling someone in the middle of a war zone, oh, you can still work on your self-love in the war zone. It's but I first would like to exit the war zone so I could have
safety.
I would like a little and I think it does come down to safety and security. Absolutely. and knowing that you could be authentically yourself with the people that you respect the most. How amazing that would feel. I mean, and a lot of people do not have that. And, there's different personality types. I do know there's a certain type of person that the more you tell them no, the more they get strong and they get strengthened. But there's a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, I'm sometimes like that, but sometimes it's just exhausting. And I say, why do I have to fight to be who I am around the people that claim to love me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always try to tell people from the other side of it too, if you love somebody and they're going through changes in their life, why not just try to support them instead of constantly bringing them back to whatever you're familiar with, whatever you're secure with? That to me is really damaging, particularly in artistic circles. As you know, we artists, we are dynamic and we like to grow and we like to experiment and we want to be eccentric. We want to be a little weird. and we want to have emotions. When you talk about mental health, can you talk a little bit about your emotional landscape and journey and how you tap into that when you're playing your characters and when you're acting?
That's a really interesting question that I don't know if I have a good answer. A lot of That's so interesting. Can you ask your question again? On like,
well, all of the acting work, like I've taken acting classes, when we do these, they do all of these, substitution exercises. We do Meisner, we do all kinds of different things. And you find your authentic emotional landscape, and then you can superimpose that onto a role or a character or some dialogue.
Totally.
What is your emotional journey in life? You seem like you're very in touch with who you are as a person. Like when you're playing Chip, okay, so we saw that at the beginning. When you're playing Chip, I don't know how you describe him. He's misogynistic. He's very much in a box of binary. Everything has to be black or white. That's not who you are.
Right.
When you're channeling Chip, are you emotionally remembering men that treated you that way, that treated people you love that way?
That's really interesting. Actually, I would say like the treatment and like how like the men that I'm like mirroring, that's more about the text and the like affectation that I have physically. Whereas for Chip, emotionally, the show doesn't work unless he is somehow, somewhere, a tiny bit likable. And to make somebody likable, they have to have very clear desires and very clear fears. And so for Chip, it's like he not only is misogynistic, but like, why? Because he's so insecure, because he's such a sad little boy who his parents don't love. And so he's yearning constantly for attention and for affection and for someone to love him. And so like, I go towards that, and then the affectation is physical and the lines, they exist how they are. And so like does that answer that?
No, that does. And when you're talking about satire, I mean, I used to do I'm Ukrainian American, and I used to do a Russian character named Irina, and she's very likable. She loved Daddy Putin, she wants green card. And I remember when the war broke out, a lot of people said, hey, you're making her too likable. We want her to, we want her to be all evil. And I said, yeah, but
she's not.
But people aren't, that's the nuance. So we're right back to nuance, right?
Totally.
If not everything in this world is that simple. And sometimes when you have if you have a character that's too monochrome, it's not even interesting and it's not believable. So Chip, I like what you said, that Chip is likable, and you do feel a little bit sorry. It's almost like an Archie Bunker. People liked Archie Bunker, but
exactly.
And then it starts dialogue, right? Because then people can have dialogues about the things that Chip is talking about. What's Chip's journey right now, by the way? I know you have a show coming up. That's one of the reasons I asked you on when I did. Talk about Caveat and the shows that Chip is doing right now.
Sure. So we are at Caveat every couple of months, and we just started season 2 a few months ago. And we're working on a through line right now for the rest of this season. So what we learned last episode is that Chip's father, who is the head conglomerator of conglomeration of Johnson & Johnson & Johnson Industries, his company has, oh God, what was it? So his company released period panties that have fused to women's genitals, and also they caused an oil spill that killed the Dawn dish soap duckling. So they're in hot water.
That's like the worst offense. That's a crime against foul. It's
exactly.
Yeah, it's awful.
And so Chip is now like, I need to rescue my father's image. I don't believe that he's actually responsible. Like the newspapers say, my father would never do this. I need to step up and help with the image of Johnson & Johnson & Johnson Industries. And so we're going to see how Chip deals with that. And the obstacles that get in his way as he tries to fix this insane scandal.
That is like the funniest storyline. You have co-writers as well. Do you want to talk a little bit? Are you working with Hunter still?
Yes.
Or okay.
One of my best friends, her name is Hunter. She is who came up with the idea for Man Up and then brought it to me and was like, I think you should play this guy. She's amazing. And we finally have more writers now that we're working with. We did like a call and people like submitted, and we picked people blindly. And we have 4 amazing writers that are all women that we work with, and we're also working with like one of them like leads each episode now. Okay. So this episode is being spearheaded by Nora Schmidt, and it's incredible already. I very much recommend tuning in. There's a live stream on July 6th if you guys are free.
July 6th. So how do they tune in? Where do they go to?
They go to caveat.nyc or caveatnyc.com, I think. And I can even put a link in the chat and stuff.
Yes.
And then you find July 6th, then you find Man Up, and then you can buy a live stream ticket.
Yay! That is so exciting. I love that. And then you're actually physically there as well. Yes. So there's a live physical audience.
Yes.
What was that like, going back into that after quarantine and hearing and it's like the energy of the crowd? What was that like to go back?
It's really amazing. And it's also like, I am out of practice. It turned out like I was at I was still getting like rocked by things I hadn't been rocked by in like years as a performer. So like I'm kind of still experimenting, and like last time there were these people there that like whose opinion I really cared about, and so I was like shaking in my Chip Johnson shoes, like just like on stage, like just as Maggie being like, oh my god, I can't believe these people are here. So it's getting a little bit easier over time, and it is still one of the best feelings as having an audience there. Being live is amazing.
Yeah. And that's where that was the incubator that you came up in, of course, you improv and all this stuff. Can you just give us a quick glance back for people who aren't aware of your entire career, how you came up? I mean, I know we don't have much time, but just how you're an actor, you thrive in these comedic incubators.
Yeah. I went to school for acting. I went to college in New York for acting. And I have been performing in theater since then, and I'm starting to like dabble as much as I can in TV and film, but I mostly do a lot of improv with some of my best friends. And yeah, I really just perform whenever I can and whenever it's a project that I'm interested in. I do a lot of things.
What would be for you the best, like, what would your best dream be? You've already accomplished so much, but like, what would be the amazing performance moment, or what would you want to see for Chip Johnson? Like, what would the vision be?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but our dream is for there to be a very complicated dance number at some point. That's what's next.
That would be, I just saw it in my head, and then I flashed to Napoleon Dynamite or whatever. But anyways, I'm thinking of Chip. And okay, so that was the perfect segue. It's like you read my mind, because what I really wanted to talk about and I don't want to run out of time for, is you, particularly as a woman, right? Because women are usually, I'm inhibited physically. I think a lot of us were told, like when we were growing up, like be prim and proper and dainty. And so for me, coming into comedy, trying to claim my physical space or to claim a physical character is really rough. It's something I struggle with, beauty standards, or, oh, do I look weird if I do this? Or if I were to sit with my legs, we're always taught to go in.
Yeah.
When I see you doing Chip Johnson, I feel so freed, because you embrace that character with full gusto and you just go for it. Was that something that you trained to do? Was that a natural talent? And are you aware of that?
I would say, bless you, Robert.
God bless you, Robert.
I would say that like it is something that we all know how to do from when we're born, that gets taught out of us. We get like trained over time that we can't be big and we can't be bold. But it is innate to human nature. And like humans are performers and humans are storytellers. And also humans are dancers, and we just don't like that's like something like so freaking human about us.
Bears are scared of us.
And bears are scared of us, says Robert. Oh, just
You gotta be big.
sometimes bears get scared of us.
That's true. Thank you.
Sometimes they do. Thank you so much. But it takes a lot of unlearning after that whole process of like being knocked down and told that you're not allowed to be big and bold as a woman in particular. So it takes practice, and it takes spaces where they ask it of you, or spaces where you feel safe. And that's what I've needed. I've needed to have a lot of practice, and a lot of like, it's okay if like being embarrassing isn't going to kill me.
Right.
Because sometimes it feels like it is. Like most of that's like fight or flight. It feels like if I embarrass myself, my people will shun me and I will be dead. That's not true anymore. That's not true.
It's not true anymore. And actually, in the arts, sometimes when you think you've made a mistake, you actually end up doing the coolest thing that everybody talks about later. How many times has that happened, right? Where you think you had a horrible experience or you did a horrible job and everyone's like, oh my gosh. And that's the standout thing of the show, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so when you're in front of the live audience, I think that's so cool because you're getting to see the reactions right then and there, and you're getting immediate feedback sort of. And I love it because when I'm watching the tapes of the live shows that you've done with Chip, I'm amazed at how impeccable your timing is.
Thank you.
And are you rehearsing what is the prep work like that for one of those shows?
The prep work is interesting. We get the script pretty close. So the script like gets finalized pretty much like up to the wire. And through that, I'm reading it out loud with the rest of the writers. And I sort of use that time to experiment and like do my weirdest choices that then I can kind of like dial it back from and like see what worked in the room with just the writers. And then I start like finalizing, okay, so this is the choice that I'm going to make to deliver this line. Cause I'm just sitting down, like there's not much to do with my body. So it matters a lot what I do vocally and a lot what I do like in like the action of my voice. And so I see what works with them or see what makes me laugh, because that's also very important. Because if I can like make myself feel pretty silly, then usually it tends to be well received.
Yes.
And then it's also a lot of like having to be really present as much as I can when I'm on stage, even when I'm nervous, of like really like responding to the audience and like seeing how something landed. And like, if I make a mistake, how do I handle my mistake? Like how would Chip Johnson handle the mistake?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot.
How do you unwind after particularly a live show? How long does it take you? Really? Yeah.
A lot of drinking. Yeah, I know it's probably a problem. But it's also fine for right now.
It's what, I mean, it's kind of what people do. People don't realize if you're not like in the business, right? So like when you're going in front of people, even if it's not a lot of people, so there are bigger shows, there are smaller shows, but no matter what it is, you have to have a certain level of confidence, adrenaline, your hormones that you're getting you're getting chemical feedback in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be so bold and brave, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't know it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So of course there is a lot, drinking, or there's a lot of different ways that people handle that. And
not just drinking. I was like half kidding. Like it's also like I do like a shake, like I shake it out, and like, and also like, luckily I have the writers who can like come and like greet me afterwards and like say I did a good job before I go see everybody else.
That's really important.
Nice to have like that little like close knit reception.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that's a great way for us to sort of like come full circle, is talking about having the importance of having a team, and it's like, just having a society around you that can make you feel that confidence and feel your worth, instead of you just walking off stage, it's like a void somewhere, which that would be really dangerous and unhealthy, I think, for a performer.
Yeah, I wish that I had better training in that and like the wind down. I think that is so important. But I'm very lucky to have some people, like, especially like human touch is very important. Like afterwards, like it's just a great like grounding ritual. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that quarantine sort of took from us was a lot of people, and then you just turn off the thing and you go back to like one or two people or who you're not even working with, and they're just like, all right. But you need other performers. It's like Alan Alda, you know, the great performer Alan Alda. I know he told people whenever anybody gets off of a performance, always go and greet them and hug them and touch them, because they have just done the bravest, most terrifying thing on earth. They need your help. There's a reason why a lot of artists end up not doing so well, and it's because of failures sometimes systemically in our community that we're not there. You're getting so much love in the comments, and I want to say to everybody who came in late, please hit the replay button, and we want to say hello to all the replay. I promised Maggie that we'd be out of here in a half hour, and I kept her a little late, but I think it was really worth it. I hope that Robert and Maggie are okay with that, but we'll get her on again soon. We'll bring her on, or we'll bring Robert on, and then she'll do a cameo or something. Yeah. So Maggie will get you all of those links and everything like that. And I just want to say to everybody here, also stick around, because right now, Big Monster Briefing Room is going live, and then at 7:30, there will be a special Journeys with MM Farwell and myself, and we have two guests who are going to be talking about a journey through alcoholism, a sister helping a sister go through this sobriety. It's going to be very interesting, and they have a lot of followers on TikTok following this journey. So 7:30, and then right now, Big Monster Briefing Room, and Maggie Metnick, everybody. She's so much for having me here. And Robert, and an octopus. No, wait, it was a spider.
He doesn't want to say.
He's like weird now. He's like, it's over. Yeah. But the artwork behind Maggie is, I believe, Robert's, correct?
They're from some calendars that he put up. And I think some resources from therapy that he has hanging there for decoration.
I love them. I absolutely love them. Sloths. Yes. All right. Thank you. So thank you everybody for being here. And we'll see Maggie again real soon.